Hey guys, welcome back to True Crime with Shannon, where I cover missing persons, unsolved cases, crime news, and more. But before we get into today's video topic, I always like to feature a missing persons poster on the channel. So let me pull up today's missing persons poster. Today's missing person is going to be Dulce Maria Alavez. She's 7 years old. Her date of birth is 4/25 of 2014. She weighs 60 to 70 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. She's about 3 foot. It states that Dulce was 5 years old when she vanished from Bridgerton City Park off of Babe Ruth Drive behind the Bridgerton High School on September 16th of 2019. Dulce was playing on the swings with her little brother. Her brother returned to his mother, waiting nearby in the vehicle, but Dulce did not. She was last seen wearing a yellow shirt with a white elephant on it, black and white pants, and white shoes. There is a possible suspect that was wearing a white t-shirt, blue jeans, and a white baseball cap, described as being Hispanic, between the ages of 30 and 35, approximately 5 foot 7 inches tall, and with a slender build. If you have any information on Dulce, please contact the FBI. Looks like you can email them at fbi@tips.fbi.gov, and they ask that you please use Dulce Alvarez, Bridgerton, New Jersey in the email, or you can submit tips to www.njccpo.org/tip/new, or you can call 911 or 1-800-THE-LOST. There is a $75,000 reward, so if you have any information on little Dulce, please contact the authorities. So I'm back with another update on Thomas Valva. Like I said, I really am getting into this case, and I want to get myself and you guys up to speed with this as well, because again, this happened in 2020, so the case is going on right now, and I believe they probably maybe have another week or so of trial, so this should get most everybody either up to date or within a couple days of the trial. So again, Newsday seems to be one of the best sources on this case. I'm going to link to this actual link right here that has all their Thomas Valva, the trial of his father, Michael Valva. They have all the posts, and whenever they post a new one, it's updated right below little Thomas's picture here. And see, everything is right here, and the recent update here and all that. So the teachers have been the most recent ones to testify in this case. But like I said, I wanted to get everybody up to date on this. I did learn today that there's no video or audio for the news in the courtroom. Apparently, the judge decided they did not want that to happen in the courtroom. I think that really stinks, because I would really like to watch this trial, and I'm sure many of you guys would like to as well. But sadly, that's just not an option for us. So let me pull up the information, and we can go over what's been going on in the trial of ex-NYPD cop Michael Valva.
In the prosecutor's opening statement against former NYPD officer Michael Valva, the lead prosecutor pointed to him in court, saying that he killed his 8-year-old son, Thomas, by forcing him to live in 19-degree cold in the unheated garage with no blankets or even pillows. On the morning of January 17, 2020, the prosecutor said, Valva washed the already shivering boy using ice-cold water from a backyard spigot. Hypothermia was the official cause of death, and prosecutors repeated a point they'd made at Valva's arraignment, that it was part of a larger pattern of abuse.
This defendant was heard yelling, Mora.
That and other verbal tirades, according to prosecutors, were captured on a surveillance camera at Valva's home in their dog's bedroom. It was treated better than the boy, they argued. Evidence from a variety of cameras, including video of Valva spanking Thomas and Valva's other son, will be among the evidence presented at the 3-week trial.
It doesn't rise to the level of murder. It just doesn't.
Valva's attorney, Anthony LaPinta, did acknowledge on the record in court, quote, yes, he did call his sons of B and effing idiots. He also acknowledged that Thomas's teachers and child protective services workers filed reports and correspondence showing that the boy, who had autism, was dirty for days, wore urine-soaked diapers, and was digging in trash for food. Valva faces 1 count of murder in the 2nd degree, as well as 4 counts of endangering the welfare of a child.
So the trial began on September 28th, and today is October 18th. So there's a little bit of catching up to do, but I have seemed to be able to get most of the details from Newsday, and there's also another news channel, and I'll show a couple clips as well that have been shared throughout Long Island, and there's a couple national as well. The opening statement from the state on September 28th, their biggest thing was they asked the jury to remember 4 numbers. 8, which was Thomas's age when he died. 16, the number of hours he spent in an unheated garage leading up to his death. He and his brother Anthony spent 16 hours in that garage in 19-degree temperatures. They didn't have a mattress, blankets, nothing. They slept on the concrete hard ground. That garage had no insulation whatsoever. And 19, the temperature outside on the day he died, and 76.1, which was Thomas's internal temperature, which is 20 degrees lower than normal. That was his temperature when he arrived at the hospital. So let me pull up the next slide. Prosecutors painted what they call a disturbing picture to the jury of 8 women and 4 men, claiming Michael Valva, 43, and his then fiancée and now co-defendant, Angela Polina, 45, subjected Thomas and his older brother, who were both diagnosed with autism, to years of abuse and neglect. So the prosecution is saying they're both at fault, and we're going to see the defense of Michael is putting most of this blame on the ex-fiancée. Also, the 2 were food deprived and denied blankets, pillows, and they showed up to the school, to their school in soiled clothes and oftentimes with bruises. So as we'll hear from the teachers and administrators, they showed up at school just looking awful. Suffolk County prosecutors described Valva as a depraved father who exiled his young son to die in the frigid family garage. Okay, let me pull up the next slide. Text messages between Valva and Polina are also in evidence. One text read, "I will beat them until they bleed." It's the only thing that works. What the heck, you guys? An 8 and a 10-year-old, mind you. Anthony, his brother, who, thank goodness, he's still around. His mother, which we discussed yesterday, his mother has custody now, again, of Anthony and the other brother, Andrew. But Anthony, the 10-year-old, and Thomas, which is now no longer with us, fortunately he's out of pain and being abused, they were left, in that garage, and it looks like they were beaten and highly, highly abused. Valva's defense attorney, Anthony Mapinta, blamed years of abuse and Thomas's death on Polina, the wicked, cruel stepmother who allegedly resented the boys and told Valina he was too easy on them. Lapinta said Valva was intimidated by Molina. So the defense attorney of Valva, the monster, where his attorney is telling everybody, the jury, and saying, hey, his future wife, now they're exes, she's the one that is the reason for every single thing that happened to those 2 boys. She did all the stuff. He didn't have much to do with it. Gee, big man who's an NYPD cop. He carries a gun. I don't think so, guys. I don't believe that for a hot second. Whether it's wrong, angers you, makes you irate, the facts don't make out murder, Lapinta told the jury. I completely disagree with you, Mr. Lapinta. This boy was murdered. Flat out, there's no other explanation. And it's really sad and disgusting that he's not being charged with first-degree murder at this point. All right, let's pull up the next slide. Day 2, he had no emotion, no sense of concern, paramedic Aaron Lambert told jurors in the Riverhead courtroom, saying Valva kind of stood in the background the entire time. There was no crying, Lambert said. Most parents panic and freak out in a situation like that. There was nothing like that. Most of the time, parents are screaming, crying, jumping on me, begging me to save their child. He wasn't doing any of that. He's just standing back there going, Valva later stood stone-faced at the foot of his son's bed at Long Island Community Hospital when the boy was pronounced dead at 10:28 a.m. on January 17th of 2020, Lambert said. So the paramedic is testifying that the father didn't seem to have any emotion whatsoever. If he truly, truly cared about Thomas, he would have been crying, he would have been irate, going, "You have to save my child, you have to save my child." And I'm going to play the 911 call for you guys as well. You're going to be horrified, really horrified. Let me pull up the next slide. Another paramedic on scene also testified. "I thought he was deceased," EMT James King told the jury. "It looked like he was deceased for a while because of his coloring. He was mottled. His skin was gray, blue, purple. He had a large bruise on his forehead." King reiterated that Valva initially said his son had hit the door frame. Maybe a minute later, out in the open, he said, "Well, he fell outside and hit his head on the cobblestone," King said. "It did seem odd. There were two different stories in less than a minute, maybe." So Dad is going, "Oh, he hit his head in the door frame. Oh, no. Wait. He fell in the driveway." Because Dad has no explanation because his boy fell in that garage and they saw him on video. This is just, it's very sickening, guys. Daniel Ridham, a nursing assistant at Long Island Community Hospital, said the boy was ice cold when he was brought in. Ryden said Valva, quote, "remained pretty much emotionless." Your boy, first of all, the paramedics are there. They're trying to save his life. It seems to be that he probably was deceased at this time already. They're trying to save his life. He's just standing there. And then they go to the hospital and he's still standing there. No crying, no upset, nothing. What is going on with this guy? He does not care about his boy or his other two boys. That's the bottom line. There's just no way he cares about his kids. Actually, let me pull up the 911 call before we continue with these slides, because that'll get you perfect timing in here where the paramedics and then he got to the hospital. So this gives you a chance to see what Mr. ex-NYPD cop had to say to the 911 operator. So here is the 911 call. There are a few posts on YouTube, but this one here is from News 12, I believe. I'll make sure I get that correct here, and I'll also include the link in the information of this video. But here is the complete 911 call that Michael Valva made when his son had collapsed and looked like he wasn't going to make it.
Suffolk Police 843, what is the location of your emergency? Hello, do you need the police?
I need ambulance immediately. My son's not breathing.
Okay, stay on the line. Your son, who's not breathing, how old is he?
8.
8?
Yes. He fell down. He banged his head.
Okay.
He's okay.
Okay.
Took him. I gave him a shower to try and help him out a little bit. Stop breathing.
Okay.
CPR.
County Fire Rescue number 50. What's the address of the emergency?
11 Bittersweet Lane, Cinema Richards, New York, 11934.
11 Bittersweet, nearest street on the corner?
Yes.
Are you off of Barberry? Sir, what's your name?
My name is Michael. I'm a police officer with the city of New York. My son, I don't know if he's breathing or not. I don't know if his heart stopped. He fell down on his way to the bus. He banged his head pretty good. I brought him in, and I'm doing CPR right now.
All right. How old is he?
8 years old.
Okay. Do you need any instructions, sir?
I just need somebody to get here quick.
Listen, I already sent them, okay? Help is already on the way. Do you need any other kind of help?
Not a good time, I believe.
All right. Is your front door unlocked for them?
Yep.
All right. Keep on doing CPR. We already sent help, okay?
30.
All right. I'm going to hang up now. Is that all right? Do you need me for anything?
No, just please get somebody here.
Okay. We're going to get somebody right there, okay? Tower number?
843.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Yep. All right, sir, I'm going to stay on with you till I get there, all right?
Okay.
What is your name?
My name is Mike Valva.
Mike, okay.
19, 20. His belly is filling up a lot as I'm doing CPR.
It's filling up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me transfer you back to rescue. All right, because they would be able to let you know if that's normal. All right, hold on, Mike. Don't hang up. Okay.
Okay.
You have reached Suffolk County Fire Rescue.
Just stay with me, Mike.
Dispatchers are currently processing other emergency calls. Please stay on the line.
I just didn't hear a heartbeat.
Do you hear a heartbeat? I couldn't hear.
County Fire
I
Rescue
wasn't
number
sure if I
9.
could hear a heartbeat.
Hey, no, number 9. Hey, 11 Bittersweet, East Moriches. I'm on with Mike. He's a police officer, NYPD. His 8-year-old fell down, hit his head, is not breathing. CPR is in progress. He said the child's belly is filling up. He wants to know, is this normal or not? We have rescue on the way and police. If you could assist him further, please.
Hello, sir, are you there?
Mike?
Yeah.
Mike, rescue's back on.
We have help on the way. He knows CPR. What does he need us to do?
He had some questions.
Is that normal?
What's going on?
His belly is filling up like it's filling up with air.
Well, if you're putting air into his mouth, then some of it is going to go into his belly, yes, but some of it is going to go into his lungs too, and that's what we need. We need air going into his lungs if he's not breathing. If he vomits, you're going to have to turn him on his side. But you sure he's not breathing?
I don't know, to be honest.
They're on their way. What's going on right now? Does he have any medical history?
No,
Mike?
no medical history. Just autism spectrum.
Okay. Any bleeding?
Well, I mean, he cut his elbow.
What did he hit his head on? What did he fall on?
Concrete.
Concrete? You have him flat on his back on the floor?
Huh?
I don't want to bother you if you're busy doing CPR, but I'm just trying to make sure we have all the information we need. He's on the floor. He's flat on his back.
He's on the sofa.
You got to get him on a hard surface on the floor.
All right, I'm moving him. We're in the basement, by the way, when they enter.
Basement? Where's the entrance?
Mike, where's the entrance?
Front entrance.
Front entrance use? Okay.
The door open? All right.
ETA?
We're getting one right now. They're on the road.
Yeah, he's not breathing.
Keep going until someone takes over or tells you to stop. They're less than a minute out, sir.
Less than a minute and...
You can send someone to the door to meet them.
Police are also there, Mike.
He fell down and banged his head. He was a little messy. I took him to the shower. He was okay. And all of a sudden, I thought he wasn't breathing. So I pulled him out. Tried to have him dressed.
We showing that, PD?
Yeah, our unit's on scene.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna disconnect.
Just pulled up too.
Ambulance just pulled up? Okay.
What's your number?
843.
Thank you.
Thank you, 9. Bye.
So that's pretty horrific. I wish I could hear more of what the conversation was in the background. Obviously, he was supposedly, because we don't really know, giving CPR to his son. Now, he had a lot of questions for someone who's NYPD. You're CPR certified, so I don't understand that one at all. That's just no excuse for that. Of course, he didn't care to begin with about his son. So, all right, so that was a 911 call. So let's get back into the updates here from the trial. Authorities realized that Thomas Valva's hypothermia death was not simply a tragic accident when the county's former medical examiner performed an autopsy on the 8-year-old boy's body. A Suffolk police homicide detective testified on Monday, October 4th. Detective Michael Ronca, a 21-year Suffolk police veteran, testified that the autopsy performed by Dr. Michael Captain indicated that the injuries to Thomas's face and forehead were superficial, even though his father, Michael Valva, had told on-scene medical professionals that the boy had collapsed not long after he injured his head. Yeah, all that story was a bunch of crap. It changed at that point from a non-criminal investigation to a criminal investigation, Ronica testified in Riverhead at the trial of Valva, a former NYPD officer. Okay, so let's pull up the next slide here. Surveillance video recorded at 8-year-old Thomas Valva's Center Monreek's home leading up to his 2020 hypothermia death were deleted hours after he died, a police detective testified on Tuesday, October 4th. Detective Guy Gehrig, a 34-year veteran of the Suffolk County Police Department, told jurors that he was given the username and password to access the cloud-based surveillance system by a homicide detective back on January 17th of 2020, the day Thomas died. But once he got into the system, most of the footage from that day was gone. How ironic. Who else would have access to it? Let me see. Dad and Step Monster there. So they don't want anybody to know the truth, do they? No, they don't. Okay, let's pull up the next slide. Before Thomas died from hypothermia, prosecutors said he had spent 16 hours in the unheated garage. Thomas and his brother Anthony not only slept in the garage for months before Thomas's death, prosecutors said. It was also where they ate and did their homework. So that's where they were. Did they have a bedroom? I'm assuming they had one for CPS or anyone who came by. But it looks like they were put in the garage. And you're going to learn something even worse. The garage was not heated, but I learned, and later on we're going to talk about that, the room that the dog is in, that's heated. Ronca also testified that police executed a court-approved search warrant at the Bittersweet Lane home on January 24th, 2020, a week after Thomas's death, and arrested Valva and Paulina. My issue is, why did it take a whole week? Why did it take a whole week? That, to me, is inexcusable. Okay, let's pull up the next slide. Footage on most of the cameras prior to 1 p.m. had been erased, Gehrig said on the stand in Suffolk County Court in Riverhead. I could see again prior to 1 p.m. Any footage prior to that just wasn't there. Again, how convenient. Either Paulina or Valva must have, accidentally erased that evidence. The only footage not deleted came from the family dog's room, the witness said, which apparently is heated. So his two boys, his 8 and 10-year-old, don't deserve to be in good temperatures and not even with blankets or mattresses or anything. So, but his dog sure does. I think somebody ought to put him in a 19-degree on the concrete in a garage. The defense argued defendant Michael Valva's ex-fiancée controlled the surveillance system. So again, the defense for Michael constantly goes on and says, oh, it's all about her. She's the one who says control. She's the one in control. I think it was both of them. I think they did everything together. Nothing was just one of them. Everything was together. And there's many text messages, and I haven't been able to see them yet, but the prosecutor said there's multiple text messages where the two of them, converged on all this horrible, horrible things they did to these two boys. All right, let me pull up the next slide. A plumber testified that all hell broke loose in the home of Michael Valva and Angela Polino while he was there working on a bathroom. He said that Angela Polino took the boy and threw him down the stairs as punishment for having an accident which was about 6 months before Thomas's Valva's death. So apparently he peed his pants, he went to the bathroom in his pants, he had an accident. So she threw him down the stairs. Like I said, this constantly gets your blood boiling, guys. It really, truly does. All hell broke loose, said Thomas Norris, a plumber with 35 years of experience and a decade-long family friendship with Valva's ex-fiancée, Angela Polina. Polina came yelling, cursing, and screaming. This is the way I take care of expletive business. She took the kid and threw him down the stairs. Yeah, what a big woman. Throw a little 8-year-old down the stairs. I hope someone throws you down the stairs. He was fixing the shower in Valva's and Polina's master bathroom in July 2019 when Valva came home and found that one of his sons, who had been locked in their bedroom, had apparently wet the bed. Valva, who was standing at the bottom of the steps inside the 2-story home, did not intervene as the boy cried and Polina shouted. So he did not care that his fiancée was throwing his son down the stairs and yelling at him. There's something truly wrong with both of these people, and I'm telling you, they need to throw him in jail and throw away the key. All right, let's pull up the next slide. A school bus driver testified at the murder trial of ex-NYPD officer Michael Valva on October 7th that his son, Thomas Valva, never showed up to the bus stop near their Center Montrese home on the morning of his death, contradicting Valva's alleged statements to police and emergency responders that the boy suffered injuries when he fell on the driveway as he was running for the bus. Again, another person that can prove this was total BS. Jeanette Mitchell, a school bus driver for the East Montrese School District where Thomas and his siblings attended, said she didn't see Thomas fall in the driveway on the morning of January 17, 2020. Mitchell said she picked up Thomas's siblings, Andrew, then 6, and Anthony, then 10, as well as one of his stepsisters at about 8:52 a.m. and drove them to school that morning. They told me no, said Mitchell, that when she asked Thomas's siblings when they got on the bus if he was coming. So the siblings told the bus driver, "Oh no, Mike, although Thomas is not coming to school today." Okay, let's pull up the next one. Frustrated East Montrese Elementary School staffers, fearful that their reports to Child Protective Services detailing alleged abuse of Thomas Valva and his older brother Anthony were not being addressed, decided to flood the agency's hotline to bring attention to the boy's plight. Principal Edward Schringer told jurors that Thomas and Anthony were happy, healthy, clean when they were enrolled at East Montrese Elementary in September of 2017. But the boys' conditions began to deteriorate that same school year. Principal Edward Schneider told jurors that Thomas and Anthony were, quote, happy, healthy, and clean when they enrolled at East Montrese Elementary in September of 2017. But the boys' conditions began to deteriorate that same school year. Schreiner testified at Valva's trial. He told jurors that the boys appeared extremely emancipated by the spring. Anthony Schreiner said he was also extremely gaunt. So Thomas's brother was looking like he really was having issues. He was super skitty. Administrators filed repeated reports to CPS detailing the boy's decline, Schreiner testified. Anthony had arrived at school in urine-soaked clothing, while Thomas was at times bruised and had lacerations on his face, he said. Both children were chronically hungry and cold, the witness said. The boy's condition would improve after the reports were filed, but those improvements were only temporary, he said. So they filed the reports, things would get a little better, and then all of a sudden they seem to go back to the way they were. Coincidental, huh? All right, let's pull up the next slide. We felt as a team we were not getting the results we wanted to see. We decided as a team we were going to just flood the CPS hotline with calls, he testified. Valva, according to Schreiner, told him that the boys had all of a sudden lost control of their bowels and were wearing pull-ups. The combination of the boys being hungry and cold caused them to be, quote, emotional at times, throw temper tantrums, Schreiner said. Otherwise, they were good students, with Thomas being a rule follower and appearing very bright. Schreiner said Valva was combative when school officials raised concerns about the boys, saying his family was being harassed by school officials and threatening to sue them. He also told the principal he didn't want school officials to weigh his sons and sent in a doctor's letter saying the boys had healthy weights. Schreiner was visibly shaken and choked up when asked about the day that Thomas died. A volunteer firefighter, he had received a notice informing him that a child on Bittersweet Lane in Center Montrich had suffered a cardiac arrest. I knew that address because I had put in the CPS reports, he said. That's really sad. So he knew that that was Thomas or Anthony because that was their address. And everything going on, he just knew. Such a sad thing. All right, let me pull up the next slide. Why is there no CPS caseworkers going to be called at this trial? 99% of the CPS reports came back unfounded, Latorico said. Why is the CPS workers not being called to explain their rationale? There's a big void in the narrative in the prosecutor's case. That is completely true. Why is CPS not testifying? That's a good question. Asked if he planned to call any CPS workers, Letourneau said, potentially we might call them. So the defense attorney's like, maybe. I think you should know. On cross-examination, Letourneau asked the principal, did you ever call the police in reference to any suspected claim of abuse from the Valva household? And Schreiner said he had not and offered, quote, actually there was definitely was police involvement. So he said he called them and nothing was going on. So the question is, CPS, we already have stated, there's no excuse whatsoever, but CPS wasn't following through and they claim they're understaffed. They don't have the training and whatsoever, which we all say there's no excuse for all these babies they're slipped through the cracks and then they die. I mean, what is wrong with this country? That's a whole different ball of wax. But then you have police involvement and apparently nothing was going on there. So was the fact that Michael was an NYPD cop at the time, did it have anything to do with it? Makes you wonder. All right, let me pull up the next one. Thomas Valva confided in his school psychiatrist and a child protective service investigator that he and his older brother had been sleeping in the garage at their home for several months before the 8-year-old boy died following a night on the garage's bare concrete floor in sub-freezing weather. So he's already not only he's telling the school psychiatrist, he's telling CPS, hey, my brother and I are being forced to sleep in the garage, and it's really cold. Thomas said he and Anthony slept in the garage, said school psychiatrist Renee Emnant, describing the May 14th, 2019 conversation during a CPS visit at the school. He said they stayed in the garage because they have accidents. He said it to the person who should have been able to do something about it. So CPS is there. His kid is trying to say, I need help. My brother and I need help. We're being forced to sleep on the concrete floor of our garage and not inside the nice, warm, comfortable house where we have a bed, covers, blankets, and heck, even the dog has a heated room. But my mom and dad decided that my brother and I have accidents, so we have to sleep in the garage on the concrete floor. No mattresses, no blankets, nothing. And CPS does nothing to help either one of them. Zero excuse. A trio of East Montrich school teachers of Thomas and Anthony Valva sobbed on the witness stand Thursday as they described the young boys arriving at the school bruised, beaten, shivering, and crying from hunger and pain in the years leading up to Thomas's 2020 hypothermia death during the murder trial of the boy's father. They didn't look like the same children, East Montrich elementary school teacher Nicole Papa said, tearfully comparing the boys in the 2018 to 2019 school year to the previous school year. They were not the same. When you would hug them, you could feel their bones. Oh, that's so sad. Little boys, little 8 and 10-year-old boys. One of Anthony Valva's school teachers worried that the boy would die because of his declining physical condition in the days before his younger brother, Thomas's 2020 hypothermia death, a witness testified at the murder trial. Caitlin Edwards, who was Anthony's 4th grade teacher at the East Montrich Elementary School, had cried a day earlier as she described to jurors her student's appearance, a pale face with sunken eyes, he had slumped over posture. at a time when Suffolk prosecutors said Valva had banished his sons to an unheated garage. I had never seen a child anywhere look how he did coming through my door, said Edwards, adding that she was thinking that one day he wasn't going to come back to me. I thought he was going to die. Boy. Under questioning by LaPenta, Edwards admitted she didn't tell the principal or didn't write in her logbook where she said she chronicled Anthony's condition and his food intake, but that she feared Anthony would die, that she feared Anthony would die. He also questioned Edwards about January 9th, 2020 emails between the teacher and Valva, an apparent attempt to highlight an exchange between a seemingly involved father and his son's teacher. She had written to Valva because of her concerns that Anthony was eating food off the floor and was sleeping for hours in her classroom, she testified. Responding to an email doesn't make him a good father, Edwards told the defense attorney. I didn't say that, LaPenta shot back. So, just because he responded to the emails doesn't make him a good father. So it looks like these teachers were trying to help along with the administrator, but all of their cries, and even Thomas's cries, directly to a CPS worker right in front of him at the school with a psychiatrist. Nobody was listening to these little boys, and they weren't listening to their mother either. We discussed that yesterday. They weren't listening to her at all. So this is my last slide. Let me get you guys caught up. Again, this was when the teachers started testifying, so we're pretty caught up here. All right, and now we're down to some more teachers, like I stated. And then I'm going to see if they have, it looks like they have a couple of videos from the teachers here as well. 2 teachers break down while testifying at the Valva murder trial. 2 of Thomas Valva's teachers broke down on the witness stand Monday, sobbing as they described how the 8-year-old boy looked emancipated and frail and was constantly complaining about hunger in the months and days before he died. Now, this is this week, so this is getting us all caught up here on the testimony. East Montrose Elementary School 3rd grade teacher Kelly Wilson said Thomas's face and hands were red when she photographed the boy wearing a Touchdown King t-shirt for a class scrapbook on January 16, 2020, the day before prosecutors said he died after spending a frigid night in the unheated garage of his home. How sad. He looked very frail, Wilson testified Monday afternoon at the murder trial of Michael Valva, the boy's father, who is on trial in Suffolk County Court in Riverhead. He looked like someone who was very sick. Thomas's 2nd grade teacher, meanwhile, told the jury earlier in the day that Thomas came to school wearing urine-soaked clothes and frequently complained about hunger throughout much of the 2018 to 2019 school year. Michelle Calino broke down crying on the witness stand and had to take a break from testifying when prosecutor Carrie Ann Kelly asked the teacher about an encounter with Thomas on January 18, 2019, the day after classes returned to school after it was closed for the Martin Luther King Jr. federal holiday. He told me he didn't eat any food all day Monday, she said, adding that he told me his heart was pounding. Throughout her testimony, Calino repeatedly said he was always hungry about Thomas, who she said frequently told her he didn't have breakfast and immediately inquired about what he could eat as soon as he arrived to school in the morning. That's just really sad. He's not getting fed and he's being left in the cold garage. Thomas also ate the discarded food of his classmates from the trash, including Chex Mix and veggie straws, she told jurors. Calino cried as she described Thomas's unhealthy weight loss and bony frame. She decided to keep a journal to document how often Thomas asked for food, she testified, and when she saw him eating crumbs off the floor. She said she was relieved when Thomas was absent for 2 days in May 2019, after she told CPS that the boy had come to school with a bruise on his forehead. Thomas told her he received the bruise after his father threw his backpack containing a plant from a school sale at him. Thank God CPS took him, Calino said she thought at the time. Thank God CPS did something. Prosecutors have said that Thomas and his older brother Anthony suffered through years of alleged abuse and neglect at the hands of Valva before Thomas died from hypothermia after being forced to sleep in the unheated garage on Bittersweet Lane without blankets or mattresses. Prosecutors have said the boys, both on the autism spectrum but high functioning, struggle with incontinence, which infuriated Valva and his ex-fiancée, Angela Polina. And this is reiterating that they both have pled not guilty to second-degree murder and child endangerment charges. Polina will be tried at a later date. Valva's defense attorneys have attempted to place the blame on Polina, whom they have described as a domineering woman. And there's the monster right there, Michael. Valva, overwhelmed financially and emotionally by a lengthy custody battle with the boy's mother, Justina Zucco, was forced to stay in Polina's good graces because he had nowhere else to go, according to his lawyers. Both teachers described Thomas as a smart, sweet boy who got along with his classmates and was a stickler for following classroom rules. They both testified that Valva described his son during meetings with them as a bad boy who lied and tried to manipulate others, and then launched into complaints about Zucco Valva, the boy's mother. Ugh. Wilson said she and the principal, Edward Schneidmer, called Child Protective Services after the boys came into school with bruises in November 2019. Valva threatened to file a lawsuit against the educator, she said. Thomas looked unhealthy when he returned to school after the holiday break in January 2020, Wilson testified. His hands and face were bright red, she said, and he walked with a limp. He was shuffling. An 8-year-old boy. Wilson broke down in tears when Kelly asked her about Thomas's absence from school on January 17, 2020, the day the boy died. There's something going on at that house, she said, Shiner told her that day. Earlier in the trial Monday, Christine McQuarrie, an educational consultant who works with autistic students in East Montrose School, said she met with Valva at his home on March 12, 2019 for a parent training to deal with Anthony's incontinence issues and his refusal to leave the school bus. Mr. Valva spoke a lot about Anthony's mother and his thoughts and opinions on her, she said, referring to Justino Zucco. She added, it was all negative. Obviously he does not like his ex at all, his ex-wife. McQuarrie said Valva told her he was an NYPD transit officer and compared the smell of the city's subways to Anthony's bedroom. McQuarrie said she left the home feeling positive and that she would be able to help to assist the family, but a few days later, Valva sent an email that he would not be requesting my services. So the father and the fiancé, obviously didn't want help because they just wanted to do whatever they wanted to do and they did not care about these boys at all. So this is such a sad situation, and there's the monster trying to look like he's some nice looking guy in court. He's awful. Awful, awful man. Rather put it back on here. Put it back on little Thomas. So that kind of gets us all caught up on the trial of Michael at this point. I believe they're still doing some interviews. I know they had over 30 witnesses. I believe the prosecution is supposed to rest either this week, at some point this week from what I read, and then the defense will start their end of the trial. So I guess we're going to see what's going on. Again, I'm going to keep you guys completely updated on this case. It's got my attention, and every free moment I am reading Newsday, checking for updates constantly on this case. I'm really disappointed that we do not have cameras in the courtroom. I really, really am. And if anybody following this has any more information on this case, please reach out to me. My email is in the information of every single video. I would really love to get your input. And if you happen to be out there and you're attending the trial, that would be great as well. I would love to speak with you. And that's going to be it, I guess, for today. I don't know if I'll do a video tomorrow. I'll definitely do one in the next couple days. I'm going to be dog sitting for a friend the end of the week, so I'll definitely be doing some videos over at her place. But in the meantime, that's going to be it for today. I do appreciate you guys checking out the channel. If you like the content, please hit the like button, the thumbs up on your way out. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate it if you would, so just hit that subscribe button as well. And with that said, I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and stay safe.